Okay, the standard says to solve simple, rational, and radical equations in one variable. That's the part we're going to be concentrating on. We're going to be solving simple, radical equations. We will solve rational equations in a few more units. Okay, first thing you want to do is you want your radical to be on one side of the equation. Then you either want to square both sides, if it's a square root, or you want to cube both sides, if it's a cube root. And then you want to solve the equation like normal. Okay, so this one does not have anything that needs to be moved. There's nothing over here but the radical. So I'm going to begin by squaring that. And what that does is that removes the radical from the equation. So now I have x plus 24 equals 25. And I will solve this equation like I normally would. Now I have to check radical equations to be sure. In the standard it said be sure there are no extraneous solutions. That means solutions that will not work. So the only way you can do that is to put the answer that you get back into the equation and see if it works. This gives us the square root of 25, which indeed is 5. So 5 equals 5. This one checks. Let's go to equation number 2. This one, we still do not have anything we need to move, but we've got a radical on both sides. So they can't be combined like they are, so what you do is you just square both sides. This is the square root, so you square both sides. That lets us drop the radical. And now we can solve. We want to put variables on one side of the equation and numbers on the other. So this gives us 5n plus 13 equals negative 2. Then we want to bring 13 over. Divide by 5. And n is equal to negative 1. Now we want to check that and see if indeed it works, if the new if the answer works, and we got negative 1. All right. So the square root of 3 times negative 1 plus 13, something's not right. Oh, here we go. You knew how let me go up there in a minute and I'll show you how I knew I had done something. This is negative 15 divided by 5, and that gives me negative 3. I knew immediately, let's go back up here, this is a good learning moment. I knew immediately that I'd messed up because I had the square root of 10 here. And now that could have been, if this had been square root of 10, that would have worked. But it made me think, and it made me go back and look at my solution. So I had just forgotten to write down a 1. Just as simple as that, made 5 15. I just went into La-La-ville. All right, so our answer was negative 3. So 3 times negative 3 plus 13 gives us the square root of 4. Okay, we're going to check this side out. The square root of negative 2 times negative 2, whoops. The square root of negative 2 minus negative 2. I'm having a day. Minus 2 times negative 3. This is positive 6, so negative 2 plus 6 is 4. So I have the square root of 4 equals the square root of 4, which is 2 equals 2. This one checks. Okay. This one has something that needs to be moved. See that negative 8? I need to move it. This is being multiplied, so I will divide on both sides. So I have the cube root of 12 minus 3x equals 6. The opposite of cube root is to cube. So that gives me 12 minus 3x equals 216. Negative 3 equals 204, negative 3x. Divide by negative 3, and x is equal to 68. So we want to go back up and check that. So negative 8 onto the cube root of 12 minus 3 times 68 is equal to negative 48. I'm going to figure 68 times 3, which I should know because I just did it, 204. See here? Okay, so negative 8 onto the square root of 12, negative 68, minus 3 times negative 68. And I knew I had a problem there because I was going to end up with a negative number. So anyway, so negative 8 onto the square root, not square root, this is cube root, of 12 plus 204, which is 216. So negative 8 onto the cube root of 216, and the cube root of 216 is 6, and that does equal negative 48. This one checks. All right, we're going to come back to this problem, and we're going to do this one next. I'm going to move 1 over here. Remember, my step 1 is to get everything away from the radical on my first slide. That's what I said do. All right, so this is the cube root of x minus 5. Now, what I want to do is cube both sides. I'm not having a good day here. All right, so this is x minus 5 equals negative 8. Add 5 to both sides. X is negative 3. You want to check it out. You want to see if it works. So you want to put in negative 3. The cube root of negative 3 minus 5 equals, plus 1 equals 1. Equals negative 1. This is going to give me the cube root of negative 8, which is negative 2, plus 1 equals negative 1, and I get negative 1 equals negative 1. This one checks. All right, let's go to the example I skipped. This one has to be squared on both sides. If you square both sides, there's nothing to move. This gives me 74 minus 7m. This is m squared minus 24m plus 144. I'm not going to do this math in this video, but what you're doing is this, and you should already know how to do that process. So just remember the process. Okay, let's go on down and do the math. All right, I want to move everything over. And I have 0 equals m squared minus 17m plus 70. Now, I want to find factors of 70 that add to be 17. I don't know if you remember this from your freshman year or not, but factors of 70 that equals negative 17 are 7 and 10, and they both need to be negative. That's how we get a positive 70. If I multiply negative 7 and negative 10, positive 70, add negative 7, negative 10, negative 17. So 0 is equal to m minus 7 times m minus 10. Now I take each one of those and set them equal to 0 and solve. M equals 7. Now I have to check both those solutions. Time remembering everything. M minus 12. So I have to scroll back up and down just to remember. All right, now the answers were 7 and 10. So the square root of 74 minus 7 times 7 equals, and I'm checking 7 out right now, which is -5. I already know this one's not going to work. Okay? 74 minus 49 is 25. Now the square root of 25 is 5. Yes, -5 times -5 equals 25. But when we are solving equations, they are looking for the principal square root. And -5 is not the principal. This one does not work. This one is an extraneous solution and does not work. Let's check the other one out. 10. This is going to give us the square root of 4, and m minus 12 gives me 10. We're going to have the same problem. This one doesn't work either. This particular problem has no solution. Even though you went through all that miserable work, believe me, it took a long time to do that problem. It doesn't work. So this problem, this equation, has no solution.